Raven, Helga, Tweety, and Rebecca enter the workroom together and mimic Esmeralda's signature twirl before bowing to the camera. Quaquaval and Betty walk in behind the other queens, and Betty mockingly applauds the group's tribute.
It's a new day in the workroom, and I'm feeling fantastic. Esmeralda's gone, my skin is more hydrated than ever, and I feel like a brand new drag queen in this competition. I'm ready to win, but if I have to watch the others celebrate Esmeralda all week, then I might pull a Willem and puke on camera.
Being here without Esmeralda feels weird. She was a strong presence in the workroom, and one of my favorite parts of this competition was getting to know her. She and Helga were my closest friends, but now I feel like I should make an effort to get to know Rebecca and Tweety better.
Raven congratulates Helga for being the first queen to get another win, while Betty praises Quaquaval for winning the lip sync last week. Tweety adds to this praise, stating that it was easily the best lip sync of the season so far. Both queens thank the others, although Quaquaval comments that Helga and Rebecca didn't look very happy when he won the lip sync. Helga shrugs, admitting that she wasn't happy and wishes that Quaquaval had gone home because Esmeralda outperformed him in the lip sync.
I said what I said. I've been honest with everyone in this competition, and that isn't changing now. Quaquaval's track record might have been stronger than Esmeralda's, but she danced literal circles around him and should still be here. If he's bothered by the truth, then that's his problem.
Quaquaval scoffs, stating that Esmeralda had been coasting the entire season and the only memorable thing she'd done was lip sync.
I consider sending both Padme and Esmeralda home to be a service to the people of the world. Let the humanitarians get back to their work while the real drag queens turn it out to win the crown. I also saved the viewers from having to watch Esmeralda stomp down the runway in another basic outfit. Really, everyone should be thanking me.
Quaquaval and Helga continue to spar for a bit longer before they are cut off by a siren, and Pegasus's face appears on the workroom monitor.
My queens, I was so inspired by your shadiness last week that I just knew we had to add more fuel to the fire. There won't be a mini challenge because I want you to have as much time to prepare as possible. For your main challenge, you will be participating in Toon World's first ever roast. Now, who will you be roasting? Why, none other than the infamous Dark Magician Girl. And tonight on the runway, category is Feathers and Flair. Quaquaval, for winning the lip sync last week, you get to assign the order for tonight's roast. I look forward to seeing you all on the main stage.
Quaquaval getting to pick the order because he supposedly won a lip sync. Oh, I smell a stunt.
Ladies, this is why you make good TV. It gets you noticed. Girls at home, take notes. And if you like Helga, just quit drag.
Quaquaval glances at each of his fellow queens before turning towards Betty and asking what spot she'd like. Betty replies that she would like to open the show. Quaquaval asks if she is sure, and Betty insists that she is.
Being the opener is a risk, but I'm confident in my decision. I've hosted several roasts in New York City, so getting this win should be a piece of cake. Truly, I feel horrible for whoever goes after me.
Quaquaval nods, stating that he's decided on the order. Betty will open the roast, Tweety will go second, Helga will go third, Rebecca will go fourth, Quaquaval will go fifth, and Raven will be the closer. Quaquaval asks the other queens if they have any problems with the assigned order, and Raven quickly cuts in, exclaiming that she has a big issue with going last.
I've never done a roast before, and I was hoping to be assigned a slot in the middle. I absolutely refuse to let Quaquaval make me close the show.
Quaquaval shrugs, stating that Raven didn't have a problem choosing him last for the runway challenge 2 weeks ago, and he was still able to shine and land in the top. He's confident that Raven can do the same, adding that if she can't, well, then that's tough luck, because he has no intention of changing the rotation. Raven tries to argue, but is promptly shut down by Quaquaval, who tells her that she's closing and better prepare accordingly.
I put Raven last because I knew that she would panic, which would only irritate Helga even more. Also, anyone who says that payback doesn't feel good is a liar, because I'm over the damn moon right now.
Raven inhales sharply, glaring at Quaquaval before storming over to her workstation and beginning to write some ideas down on her note cards. Helga, Tweety, and Rebecca follow, while Quaquaval and Betty head towards the other end of the workroom, both clearly amused by Raven's reaction.
We can't go 5 minutes without one of these queens getting pissed off and causing a scene. If it sounds like I'm complaining, I'm not. I'm living, and facts are facts, America.
Raven sits at her workstation, obviously distressed about the roast as she tries to plan out her jokes for the challenge. She is quickly approached by Helga, Rebecca, and Tweety, who ask if Raven is okay. Raven admits that she is nervous about the challenge. She doesn't have any experience with roasts, and going last means that the judges will remember her performance the most clearly, especially if she bombs the challenge. Rebecca replies that Raven can't doubt herself, but Raven insists that she's just trying to be realistic.
I'm not trying to sabotage myself, but I know that Quackwavel is setting me up for failure by making me go last. Although I can be funny, my humor is usually off the cuff, not scripted. Having the judges stare at me while I try to read them for filth sounds like a nightmare.
Rebecca offers to look over Raven's material, and both her and Tweety ask the other queens if they mind sharing a workstation. Raven nods, stating that they would be glad to have them, and that she'd appreciate any advice Rebecca or a seasoned queen like Tweety could give. Tweety replies that seasoned is just a nice way of calling him old, which makes Helga and Rebecca laugh.
Tweety and I have stuck pretty close to one another ever since Padme was eliminated. He's developed a tighter bond with Raven over the past few weeks, and I think that it's time for me to do the same. Both Raven and Helga are sickening queens and have brought a lot of character to this season, and I want to get to know them better.
They all sit together and start working on their material, with Tweety and Helga moving through their jokes faster than Rebecca and Raven. A quick rapport forms between Helga and Tweety, who bounce material off of one another in a steady stream.
Getting to work on my material alongside a legend like Tweety is a lot of fun. We both have very different approaches to comedy. He's a lot more focused on traditional jokes and cartoon slapstick, while I tend to rely on more strange and dark humor. He's made me think of jokes that I never would have added to my set for tonight, and I hope that I'm helping him in return.
Rebecca is working alongside Raven, trying to volley material with the other queen while also focusing on her own jokes.
I'm doing my best to help Raven come up with a few jokes. I've done a couple of roasts before, so I'm at least comfortable with this type of challenge. But I can see that Raven doesn't share my comfort. It feels like she won't allow herself to relax, and it's making it so that none of her jokes land, funny or not.
Raven looks over at Rebecca and watches as the queen falls into a calm rhythm, filling a large portion of her note cards with jokes. Curious, Raven inquires how Rebecca is so at ease and has already developed such a diverse array of skills, despite being relatively new in her drag career. Rebecca explains that while she has only been a drag queen for the past year, drag has always been an integral part of her life, and she has a lot of experience working behind the scenes.
I learned how to do hair, nails, makeup, and sew from my grandfather, Arthur Hawkins, who is a renowned drag historian. Even before I started dating Yugi, I worked on set and costume design for his shows across Domino City and in America. I have a deep love for the art of drag, and that love has motivated me to cultivate a versatile skill set as a queen and performer.
I've always found Rebecca to be one of the most interesting queens in this competition, even though we haven't spoken much. She has a lot of resolve, and I respect how much she clearly loves drag.
Rebecca and Raven continue working alongside one another, with Tweety also offering Raven some advice. Eventually, Raven settles into her own groove and steadily begins producing material. The other three queens share a relieved glance before returning to their own sets. Betty and Quackwavel chuckle as they watch the other queens work together across the room. Quackwavel remarks that it's cute that the Losers Club finally decided to come together as one, while Betty states that she is just happy to see Raven shaking in her cloak. Betty then asks Quackwavel why he chose this roast order and seemed a little surprised that she wanted to go first. Quackwavel replies that he had intended for Helga to open and Raven to close, ideally to see them in the bottom together. Instead, Betty would have gone second and Tweety third, while the rest of the order would have remained the same.
Once I knew that I was deciding the order, the plan was to make it as easy as possible for Betty or myself to secure a win and ensure that Helga and Raven landed in the bottom. Betty wanted to open the roast through a wrench into my plan, but I'm still confident in how I'll perform this week. I won the reading challenge, so now it's time to certify myself as the shadiest bitch in Toon World.
Quackwavel and Betty begin to plan out their jokes, assisting one another with their sets. After receiving some helpful feedback from the other queen, Betty looks over at Quackwavel and shares that she's surprised she's actually grown to like him, admitting that she hadn't intended to make friends in this competition. Quackleval shrugs, saying that he tends to have that effect on most queens, which makes Betty laugh.
The only friend I need from this competition is the crown. But bonding with Flynn, Five, and especially Quackwavel definitely blindsided me a bit. I'm not going to go on some sickly sweet rant about sisterhood and all that garbage, but I'm glad that I'll have a group chat with a few queens I actually like after I win this season.
After a moment, Quackleval adds that Betty isn't so bad herself. Snorting, she cautions him not to get too sentimental because she plans on roasting everyone to a crisp in a challenge and would like to see him do the same. Quackleval rolls his eyes and tells Betty that he could read better than Raven in his sleep. Both queens break into a fit of laughter and continue to bond as they finalize their sets. Tweety Bird slay the challenge.
I burned the stage down during my roast tonight. Pegasus, and the Dark Magician Girl were all in stitches. I got the most laughs out of everyone, and I have Helga to thank for some of those. Some of my biggest hits were jokes that I thought of while working with her.
Rebecca Hawkins and Helga Pataki had a great performance.
The other queens seemed a little gagged that I brought it so hard to this roast. I may not be a comedy queen like Helga or Tweety, but I know how to crack a joke. I've worked alongside the House of Magician in shows before, and I knew just what to say to crack the Dark Magician Girl. I think this might be the night that I finally get my first win.
Honestly, I already feel like a winner after watching Quackwavel and Betty's sets. I mean, I've heard tepid and boring roasts before, but that was just dreadful. I only wish that Raven had done better. She looked petrified from the moment that she got in front of the judges, and it really hurt her performance.
Quackleval, Betty Boop, and Raven had a good performance.
Betty and I both struggled in this challenge. Her opening set didn't connect with the judges. Hopefully, Raven's train wreck of a performance makes the judges remember mine a bit more fondly. I know that my runway is the tea this week, so even if I did land in the bottom again, I'd send Raven's spooky ass right on out of here.
I'm just glad that the challenge is over. My hands started shaking the moment I got in front of the judges, and I mixed up my cue cards because of it. I got 1 or 2 laughs from but it felt like they were sympathy laughs more than anything else. I hope my runway for tonight is enough to save me from the bottom.
Tweety Bird, Rebecca Hawkins, and Quackleval had a great runway.
You're shocked that the bird devoured the feather's runway. These peacock feathers are larger than my entire body, and I'm walking slowly to make sure that the judges see every inch of this garment. Also, I can't rush because Sylvester will murder me if even a bit of this bodysuit is damaged.
I let the judges have it on this runway. I came out in full white swan ballerina realness, walking in point, and then bam. I ripped off the white swan look, revealed my wings, and let the judges see this black swan strutting down the runway. I'm performing the house down boots as I show off my look, and I know the judges are living for it.
Helga Pataki, Betty Boop, and Raven had a good runway.
For this category, I decided to dress up as New York State Bird, the prostitute. I'm stomping down the runway in my bright red pumps and a gorgeous mini dress, wrapped in a stunning feather boa. You know that she's the most expensive call girl in the city, and didn't pay a single cent of her own money for this outfit.
I'm serving Big Bird coming home from a long night at the bar on this runway. My whole body is painted a sickly shade of yellow, my feathers are brittle, my makeup is a mess, and I'm stumbling all over the main stage. It's chaotic beauty, and I know that the judges are living for it.
For my runway this week, I decided to pay tribute to one of my superhero idols, Black Canary. I based this bodysuit off of her costume and then added a cape and hood to make the look my own, while also covering it in canary feathers. I feel mysterious, and I hope that I made one of my idols proud.
Welcome to the main stage of Cartoon Drag Race Toon World Season 1. Allow me to introduce our sublime panel of judges. First, she's our resident judge, my Valentine. Next, we have our special guest judge, the roastie of the hour, anime icon, and sex symbol. It's the Dark Magician Girl. This week, we asked our queens to let us have it in Toon World's first ever roast, and tonight on the runway, category is Feathers and Flair. Dark Magician Girl, you're one of my dearest friends, and I am so happy to have you here.
One of your oldest friends too. Since the 90s, baby. I knew you when you were nothing. I even know where you bought your wigs.
Do you want to know where he buys them now?
Finish that sentence, and I'll send you through the trapdoor.
We don't have a trapdoor. It wasn't in the budget.
Do you really want to find out? Ladies, from this week on, there will be no more placing safe. You will either be in the top or the bottom.
Wow, with Esmeralda gone, I guess we really have trimmed the fat from this competition. I didn't do as well as I'd hoped this week, but I am not going to let my nerves crack me. I know the words to the song, and I know that I can beat any other queen here in a lip sync.
Now it's time for critiques. Helga Patocki, please step forward. Start us off.
Helga, your unhinged humor really shined through this week. I wasn't sure how your particular brand of comedy would translate to a roast, but all of your jokes landed and had us in stitches. As for this runway, while I do appreciate the character you served, I also think that serving up a character isn't enough to hide a subpar runway. You've had issues with your runways not fitting properly, and I see some of those same issues again tonight. I get that messy makeup is a part of the character, but you overdid it.
Helga, your jokes all came out of left field and left us stunned, but this runway feels like a major letdown for you. All of your looks so far have been conceptual, and while I appreciate that you tried to bring a character to this runway, hit the nail on the head. The look is messy, and I think you would have benefited from a little editing.
I thought that you were hilarious tonight, Helga. One big note that I do want to give you is about your makeup. It's very cakey, and while I understand what you were going for, I think that you're doing yourself a disservice. You're very pretty and have great bone structure. Try to paint your face to accentuate those features versus covering them up and hiding behind a character.
Betty Boop, you are up next.
Betty, tonight felt like a big step backward compared to everything else that you've presented to us in the competition. As the opener, you set the tone for the entire roast, and instead of starting on a high note, I felt like I was watching an SNL guest host try to crawl their way through a bad monologue. I don't know if you got in your head this week or what happened, but you just weren't up to par.
Betty, it feels like you aren't listening to me, or at least aren't understanding what I'm trying to tell you. You dropped the ball as the host, and this runway tonight is probably the weakest that we've seen from you throughout the entire competition. It's another pretty cocktail dress, and it looks like you've draped the boa over yourself so that there'd be some feathers on your outfit. You needed to elevate this concept. You could have come out completely naked except for an enormous boa. You could have worn a dress made of feathers. It just needed something different, because all of your looks are blending together for me at this point.
The whole look is a bit pedestrian. You modeled it very well, and I can see the vision in your head, but it doesn't measure up compared to the rest of the outfits on the stage tonight. It all just needs to be a lot bigger. It feels like a very safe look, which makes it stand out in the worst way.
All right, Tweety Bird, please step forward.
Tweety, you let all of us have it during the roast, and we lived for every joke that you told. You looked comfortable and confident behind the podium, and you were clearly in your element in a way that wasn't matched by any other queen tonight. As for this runway, I like that you went big with the look. It's giving me cartoon Vegas showgirl. It's a little naughty, and I love that you're covered in feathers. More than usual, that is. Ugh, you know what I mean.
Tweety, your jokes tonight were vicious, pointed, and as acid-tongued as we've come to expect from you in this competition. One thing that I enjoy about you is that your face is always locked in when you're on stage, even if the focus isn't on you, and you're always looking for the right moment to snag the audience's attention. It shows me that you're really putting effort into these challenges. You had us hanging on your every word. Fabulous work.
I can honestly say that I have never been read for filth like that in my entire drag career. Kudos to you, you shady ass bird. As for this runway, I like that you managed to go big without the garment swallowing you. Pieces like this can often look like stage costumes versus runway garments, but I think you managed to strike a nice balance with your look. It's wonderful.
Raven, you're up next.
Raven, tonight you served as deer in the headlights realness at the roast. You've been very poised throughout this competition, but I can see that this challenge blindsided you. Some of the jokes in your set were funny, but you had zero confidence in anything that you were saying, so you lost me.
Raven, tonight we saw you flustered in a way that we haven't before in this competition. It felt like you sabotaged yourself before you even got on stage, and walking into any challenge with the mindset that you're not going to win is a death sentence. Girl, if you don't feel confident in what you're presenting, then fake it until you make it. Confidence is just as important in comedy as your jokes. You need to trust your delivery and your material, but there wasn't any of that in your performance.
I don't want to harp on your set, but what I will harp on is this runway. It's way too basic, and a lot of the small details are just not there. I don't like that there is a huge gap between your shoe and the pants, because I can see most of your ankle. I feel like you easily could have stacked at least 2 more wigs underneath that one to give it some volume, and your jacket doesn't give you any shape around your shoulders or waist. It's not enough when you pit it against the other looks on this stage.
Rebecca, please step forward.
Rebecca, you really surprised me this week. I wasn't sure how you would do in a roast, but you had one of the strongest sets of the night. You were funny, and I like that you were able to volley with all of the judges and the audience. It takes a certain level of skill to be able to riff off of your own set without losing your place, and you did that seamlessly. As for this look, I love that you really used your outfit and your makeup to create a full avian-human hybrid fantasy. Excellent work.
Rebecca, I think that you ate up this roast, and you've been doing very well throughout the whole competition. However, I think you're falling into a bit of a trap. The most fire that I've seen from you was when you lip-synced a few weeks ago. The intensity on your face, the determination, your focus on hitting every single beat perfectly. Now that was a bitch who commanded the stage for an entire song. Where's that girl in these challenges? She's the one who will earn a win. Do you follow me?
I told myself that if any queen ever mentioned my little meltdown on the set of the legendary nights that I would sue the bitch. You're lucky that your set was funny, Rebecca, or you'd be hearing from my lawyers. I'm just playing with you, girl. Your set was fabulous tonight, and this look really takes the concept of feathers to a new level. Wonderful work.
Quackwavel, please step forward.
Quackwavel, your set was all over the place in a way that we weren't expecting. One of my biggest pet peeves whenever I see a queen doing a roast, a stand-up performance, or really anything in front of an audience is when I can clock them reading off a note card. We've seen you memorize monologues, so we know what you can do, which made this even more disappointing. What I will give you praise for is this runway. It's easily the best of the night, and you burned the stage up with your ballet performance. It was clean, your lines were beautiful, and it showcased a new side to you as a dancer that I don't think any of us were expecting.
You've shown us that you're very good at lip-syncing, death drops, splits, and everything like that, but seeing your actual dancing prowess was quite moving. But that doesn't change the fact that only a few of your jokes landed tonight. One thing I've noticed is that when something doesn't work in your set, you don't know how to adapt. You try, but once you start to panic, it's like you lose all hope in recovering your performance, which causes you to spiral. Work on that, because it's your Achilles heel in this competition.
Your runway outfit is definitely the best of the night, and out of the lowlights from tonight's roast, your set was the funniest. You had confidence in your material, but you didn't form a good connection with the audience, and everything just felt a bit shallow. But can I also say that I live for how you painted half of your face for the white swan and the other half for the black swan's mug. It's hard to pull that off, so snaps for you.
My queens, after deliberating amongst ourselves and sharing our thoughts with you, here are your placements for the week. Helga Patocki, Tonight you stamped your signature strangeness all over this roast. You were safe and may go untucked backstage.
I had the judges eating out of my hands, and I knew that I had another spot locked on top. I just wish Raven was here with me. She's been an absolute mess all day, and I know that she thinks she's lip-syncing tonight. I just hope that she turns it the fuck out.
Rebecca Hawkins, tonight your sharp mind and sharp tongue served you well. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
Being in the top again is great, but I need to take Pegasus's words to heart. I have to find a new gear and elevate my drag, or I'm going to be the next one chopped.
Tweety Bird, tonight you got the roaster cooking and set everything ablaze. Congratulations, you are the winner of this week's challenge.
Looks like I'll be joining Helga in the 2 Wins Club. Does anyone know if membership comes with actual perks or just an ego boost? Nothing. You don't even validate parking. Gross. Jokes aside, I feel like this was my strongest week in this competition, and every other queen here better recognize that this bird is coming for the crown.
Raven, tonight you failed to bring any fire to the roast, and your runway was more of a canary cough than a canary cry. I'm sorry, my dear, but you are up for elimination. Quackwaddle, tonight it felt like you came into the roast half-cocked, but on the runway, you came at us fully loaded. Betty, your opener left a sour taste in our mouths, and your runways are starting to become bland. Betty, I'm sorry, my dear, but you are up for elimination. Quackwaddle, you are safe and may go untucked backstage.
I'm pissed to be in the bottom this week, but I'm happy that I'll be the one who sends the spooky bitch home. This is an emotional song, full of passion and a strength that I know I can embody better than Raven could ever dream of doing. I intend to show every other queen here why I'm considered New York City's premier lip-syncer.
I'm worried. I know the words, but I rarely perform country music at my shows. I'm going to perform my ass off and fight to stay. I'm not going home tonight. I'm just not.
The lip-sync song is No One Else on Earth by Winona Judd. Betty Boop had a great lip-sync. Raven had a bad lip-sync.
Ladies, I have made my decision. Betty Boop, Shantae, you stay. You may go untucked backstage. Raven, you were a superhero and a drag queen like none other. And I am proud to say that Toon World has gained a new mistress of magic. Watching you showcase the wicked beauty of your drag was both a pleasure and a privilege. Now, my dear, sashay away.
Never let anyone else tell you who you are or what you'll become. Live your truth and find a family that loves you for who you are. Thank you.
This is Untucked.
The queens congratulate Tweety for winning the challenge and Betty for winning the lip sync, and both queens thank the group. Rebecca sits beside Helga and tries to comfort the other queen, who is clearly saddened by Raven's departure. Betty approaches the duo and asks Helga what's wrong, inquiring if she's upset because her only friends in the competition got sent home back to back and she'll obviously be next. Helga sighs and drinks her cocktail while Rebecca asks Betty if she's being a bitch because she knows that without Esmeralda to force a storyline, she's running on borrowed time. Betty scoffs, commenting that she's one to talk as the only other bitch in the competition without a challenge win. Betty then turns to Helga and asks if she needs someone else to fight her battles for her. Helga stands, replying that Betty is a brokeback, bottle-necked, bobble-headed bitch whose only talent is being a raging twat to everyone around her. She quickly adds that the producers have only kept her around because she's good for TV. Betty's cheeks turn red and she starts to reply, only for Helga to throw what's left of her cocktail in her face and storm out of Untucked. Betty is aghast, complaining that Helga ruined her outfit and states that she will make the other queen pay for the damages. Rebecca cuts in, assuring Betty that Helga will be able to cash up her the $16.99 plus shipping, which causes Betty to storm off as well. Tweety Bird and Quackwaddle watch as Betty leaves the set. Tweety chuckles before commenting that he thought Betty would melt when someone dumped a drink on her. Quackwaddle rolls his eyes, saying that Tweety already won the roast and can dial it back a bit. Tweety replies that Quackwaddle telling anyone to dial back the shade is ironic, which causes Quackwaddle to grin and admit that Tweety makes a fair point. As Quackwaddle starts to stand up, stating that he is going to go check on Betty, Tweety comments that he is surprised to see Quackwaddle being so sisterly. Quackwaddle replies that he is here to win, not make friends, but if someone earns his sisterhood, then he has their back. Tweety replies that he came here to make lasagna, but he's also fine with making friends and winning. Quackwaval laughs despite himself before following Betty out of Untucked.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Now remember, be proud, feel free, and live your life, always.